Hi TIs, this is Renata. I'm doing this video based off of a YouTube video I saw that someone posted. I believe it was a man. Whoever posted the video, they didn't talk, but I believe it to be a man, so I'm going to say him or he. However, the person who posted the video was attempting to show how when he is at the grocery store and he gets ready to check out at the cash register, there could be no one in line, but when he gets there, a mob of people come. The people who get the stalking know that this is a very well-known tactic. It could be referred to as mobbing or crowding, but this is a very well-known tactic. I too get that a lot. It can happen at the grocery store. It can happen at the bank. It can happen wherever you go. The gas station is well known to most targeted individuals that this happens. This is a psychological tactic that the stalkers use. So this person was attempting to show this. The video was a little confusing because I couldn't tell if the people he was showing in line were in his line or another line, but I get it. I know exactly what he was trying to show on the video. As I said, I get it a lot. I get it at work every day when I'm in the cafeteria trying to get ice, because I get ice when I'm at work so I can have some ice water. I get crowded. They just come out of nowhere. That's the workplace mobbing. It's all the same concept of mobbing. So I know exactly what he was trying to show. But what got me was when I read the comments. And I'll just read them to you. One person said, "One man came up behind you, and that's stalking? You are in a grocery store. That's what people do. Seems you are stalking the people with your camera, filming the most mundane things. Get some help before this delusion takes your life." Another person says, "I want to believe, but then again, when you develop these ideas that people are watching you and the government is targeting you and putting everyone around you against you, it's essentially suffocating you, and you have created your own paranoia. It seems that this whole gang stalker and targeted individuals is just a way for people to fuel their insanity and feel as if they actually aren't crazy. I question everything, and I certainly do not trust everything the government is doing. But this is just torture to yourself to get so wrapped up in this. Maybe I just can't accept it because it has not happened to me." That's what the person who left the comment said. Now, number one, going back to this first person who says that it seems that that you're paranoid, that you're just paranoid, and I think the second person said that as well. Mentioned delusions, and you're just fueling your own insanity and these type of things. And they talked about how this person is creating their own paranoia in their head by thinking that the government is targeting them, and by thinking that people in the grocery store are targeting them. Number one, gang stalking is real, and I actually call it organized stalking, but for the sake of this, I'll call it gang stalking because that's how these people refer to it. Gang stalking is real. It does happen. It absolutely happens in the grocery store because that is one of the main places where I'm tortured, is the grocery store. So it does happen. This whole thing about being delusional and all of this, almost every targeted individual has heard that maybe they're delusional. Maybe they're just being paranoid. We hear it from family. We hear it from friends. We hear it from the media. Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil had several targeted individuals on his show. And what did he do? He discredited them. He kept using the words delusional. Are you okay? Are you paranoid? Are you schizophrenic? Dr. Phil has millions of viewers. So what message is he sending? He's sending the message that whenever you hear someone mention that they're being followed, that they're insane, that they're out of their minds. Maybe that's why the people that watch this YouTube video don't believe it, because they've heard that anyone who brings these things up has some sort of psychological issues. Dr. Phil is a credible source for most people. So they're going to pay attention to what he says. And I can't confirm that these people actually watch Dr. Phil, but I'm going off the fact that TIs have really been discredited a lot in recent years in the media. Now let me read to you something on Wikipedia. This is called False Claims of Stalking, Gang Stalking, and Delusions of Persecution. News reports have described how groups of internet users have cooperated, meaning that all the TIs have somehow come together, even though most of us never knew each other before we met in the targeted individual community. But going on, this says, news reports have described how groups of internet users have cooperated to exchange detailed conspiracy theories involving coordinated activities by large numbers of people called gang stalking. Often described as involving electronic harassment, the use of psychotronic weapons, and other alleged mind control techniques. These have been reported by external observers as being examples of belief systems, as opposed to reports of objective phenomena. Some psychiatrists and psychologists say websites that amplify reports of mind control and group stalking are an extreme community. Now notice the words that they use when they refer to targeted individuals and people who say that they are being gang stalked. They say that these people are part of an extreme community. Conspiracy theorists. Okay, so they're part of this extreme community that may encourage delusional thinking and represent a dark side of social networking. They may reinforce the troubled thinking of the mentally ill. Okay, so they're saying you're mentally ill if you say this is happening to you, and impede treatment. So in other words, what comes to mind, if you try to explain this to your family member or friend or loved one, and they do their research and they come across this Wikipedia article, they're not going to believe you. Maybe this is why our loved ones say, well, maybe you need help. Are you okay? You're paranoid. You're mentally ill. Maybe this is why the people on this gentleman's YouTube page left these type of comments, because this is what's being fed to them, that everything a targeted individual is saying is a false accusation, that it is a delusion, that is not really happening, that it is persecution complex, I think is another term that the therapists use. That these are false allegations, that this is not really happening. It's all in your head. It's not true. It does happen. It absolutely does happen. And anybody who experiences this knows that it happens. So let's see what dictionary.com. This is how dictionary.com defines paranoia. Baseless or excessive suspicion of the motives of others. Well, our claims are not baseless. Although people want you to believe that they're baseless, it leaves very, very little evidence because of how slick they are with the tactics that they use, how they just blend into society. And I'm really not even mad at these people in the comment section, although they very well could be perps, just trying to further discredit this man who posted this video. But I'm really not mad at the people who don't understand it, because I understand that they don't understand, because based off of one video that he's showing, it is hard to determine what is actually happening. But I'm going to do another video on evidence, because what has to happen, and I'm sure he knows this, I don't know the gentleman, I just happened to come across the video, but what has to happen is he has to keep doing those same type of videos, because you have to show the pattern, and that's the only way you can prove it, because it does just look like a natural environment. And anyone who gets stalked, they know what I mean. It looks like a natural environment. Everything's so subtle. But these people are out there administering their psychological warfare on the target. So I get exactly what he was trying to show. I get it. And the video does show that there was no one in line until he got there. That's not a absolute indication that you're being stalked, but it definitely is a tactic that they use, the crowding. That is definitely, absolutely 100% one of their main tactics. So these people need to do their research and take their heads out of the sand, because I don't understand why any of this would be hard to believe, knowing that we are in a surveillance society. Everybody's being surveilled, even them, whether they know it or not. They may not be getting the same thing that that gentleman's getting, but they are under surveillance as well. Everybody is. When President Obama did his very first campaign, I think that was 2008, somewhere around there, he said in one of his speeches that there would be a civilian military. Now, I haven't heard anything about this civilian military since. But you better believe they're out there. They're out there stalking people, harassing people, surveilling people, investigating people. They're out there. What about the lieutenant in Santa Cruz, California? I think his name was Larry Richards. He confirmed gang stalking. He was talking about a gentleman, he was showing a gentleman on the news that had complained about being stalked and harassed by his neighbors. And the guy was very frantic and he was very nervous on this news segment. And this, by the way, one of the very few news segments that I've seen covering the stalking issue. But this guy was on there and he was saying how he plays loud music and his neighbors harass him for it and they stalk him for it. And this police lieutenant was also interviewed in that same segment, and he confirmed it. He confirmed, yes, gang stalking does exist. What about Cindy and the people in Ohio, Cindy and I forget their last name is Clerch. They were on 2020. All their neighbors honking at them. Going by their house, honking. Lots of people all day long. He had it all on film. Why were they doing that? They were doing that because he did not want to sell, he wanted to buy a foreclosed house that belonged to a retired police chief's family. The retired police chief, I'm sorry, fire chief, he wasn't a police chief, he was a fire chief, retired. He did not want this guy to buy the property. The guy decided he was going to buy it anyway, although it turns out he didn't buy it. But that retired fire chief put the man in the program, and the man he and his wife began to be harassed and stalked by the neighbors. It was on 2020. It's confirmed. There's not a lot of coverage on it. There's not a lot of confirmation on it, but it absolutely does exist. What about during the COINTELPRO days, which it still exists under a different name, but back in those days when the church committee found the FBI guilty of spying on people. Now, what they failed to say, they covered the Black Panthers and some of the other political organizations, but what they failed to disclose is that they were also doing these things to everyday citizens. The same things they're doing today to you and I. What about Richmond, California? Right now, they are acknowledging targeted individuals. They put a committee together to help and assist targeted individuals. I've had several police tell me that they know that people are stalked and harassed. I've had a city investigator tell me that she knows targeted individuals personally. I've had news reporters tell me that they know the program exists. So it exists. So when people make these comments about people being delusional, they need to do their research, unless they're intentionally doing that, which that could be possible too. But I do know that there are many people that do not believe that this really happens, particularly family members and friends of TIs. But if they did their research, I mean, it's easy for them to believe the negative press that they see, like Dr. Phil and some of these other things I mentioned. They'll believe that, but why don't they believe these ones that I just mentioned? The people that have been on the news, the 2020, they're telling you that it happens. It's not an isolated incident that it happened to the people who are getting the horn honking. That's not isolated. This is happening all across the world. I almost said America. No, all across the world. This is happening. I just don't understand why it's so hard for people to believe. It's so far-fetched. Edward Snowden told a lot about surveillance, although he didn't tell about this targeted individual program, but he put it out there that everybody's being surveilled. Everybody's phones is being tapped. Everybody's computer is being tapped. So I don't get it. There are ex-FBI agents that are whistleblowers who have confirmed that people are being targeted, that people are being gang stalked. They're ex-CIA agents, they're ex-military people. There have been some whistleblowers that confirm things that they actually know for a fact exist. There is a spy college. I can't remember which state it's in, but Google it. There is a spy college that trains young adults to be spies, and they're spies on the college campuses. They're stalking people on the campus and out in the community. So this stuff exists. This is not that person in the grocery store who made that video. He's not delusional. He's not crazy. He's not paranoid. It may appear that way for people who do not know how this program exists. That was one video But I bet you he has a lot of those videos. Maybe even hundreds. And if he spliced them all together and then put them on YouTube, then maybe some people would get the picture. But to just rush to judgment to say that because a person mentions something that you may not know about, that's very closed-minded. Very closed-minded. Because these things happen. And that episode in the grocery store and all the other stalking episodes, and he may even get electronic harassment. I don't know the gentleman. But all of those things can and has destroyed people's lives because it is psychological warfare. And I'm sure that was just one thing that happened in his day with all those people surrounding him. That's just one. That's just one thing in a target's life. Episodes like that happen all day, and other things on top of that happen all day. Stalking on foot, stalking in a car, even air stalking. Now that would really be far-fetched for people who don't understand this program. That would really throw them for a loop if they know that helicopters actually stalk innocent people, fly above their homes, fly over their heads, follow them in their cars. They really think you're crazy. But guess what? It happens. It's just another black op program that they don't want you to know about. They want you to think that anybody talking about these things are crazy, but they're not. So I have news for you, Mr. and Mrs. who commented on that guy's page. It is not paranoia. It is not delusional. It is not mental illness if it is happening for real. And it is happening for real. In thousands, if not millions, of people's lives across this entire planet. So, thank the Lord that it's not happening to you.